Just a second, I'll just share my presentation. Right. So we left at the last point on states. Basically, like you have states as consumed and unconsumed states. So we are with the contracts. So contracts is more of like where you apply business validations stuffs. You have different types of constraints here. One is input constraints, another one is output constraints, and you have signature constraint as well. Like uh, you could also verify the signature, like whether this is from a valid node or invalid node. So that is to do with contracts. So yes, so you are clear. You people are clear with all this stuff, right? So I will probably, yeah. So I'll probably go on with comments. Okay. Is that clear until now? Like states and contracts. So states are your data models, and contracts is where your validations, business rule validation is applicable. Clear with this, right? So I'll begin with what command is for. Uh, yeah. So what happens with commands is like uh, so so you have your business validations here as a contracts, right? So what happens with command is uh, you have one validation, one piece of validation called negative number validation, and you define it with contracts, and you have one more other validation called assume like non-zero validation, and, you have that defined in context. So what command does is like uh, it will bring all these interfaces together. Okay, so what it does is like it pulls up all your validations. It pulls up all the different types of validations and have it in a single frame called as commands. Okay, so and also, so if you look at output state, there could be a scenario where uh, uh, one output state could have come from multiple input state. This is a bit confusing, but I'll explain you. So if you look at a state, it should have one. It could have either one output state, or an input state. So what multiple output state is mean when you construct state, it could be from different data models. So it could be from different data sets or different states of unconsumed steps. So assume like I have state one, I have state two. There are two states here, and I could still construct a state out from two different states, right? I could take only name from state one, and I could take ID from state two and construct a new state. So if you look at this, it is consuming two output states from two different states, and it is creating one single input state. Clear with this, or am I messing around? So one transaction can release two different states from two different. Yeah, exactly. I thought is so that is about comments, and one important thing with flows, or one important things with Corda is everything is everything to Corda is via flows. So what flows is like uh, assume a scenario like two parties A and B, right? So party A want to send a document to party B, and he wants to wait until party B signs it and gets back to him, and then he consider that transaction to be valid. Okay, for this, the step one is like the party A should send a transaction to party B with this document, and party B should open the document, and if he agrees it, he must send back to party A, right? So if you look at this, uh, and if you look at this, there is to and fro communication happening between party A and party B, right? So all these operations, all this to and fro communication, or the waiting time for between party A and party B until he receives the document back from party B to party A. So and all these waiting times and stuffs have been taken care by Corda via flows. Okay. Yeah, exactly. It's same like acknowledgement. So this is like flows are like acknowledgements, right? And you need not do all these coding steps, or you do not do all these asynchronous calls between nodes. You can do that with flows. So flows are built in ready made for you in Coda. So they use something called as quasar to achieve it. Okay, and all those steps involve state machine and state machine managers, and all these are ready for you, so you need not worry about it. And they provide you with intended participant. So this is done by finality flow, and you have different type of flows. One is collect signature flow. So what this will do is it will go and collect signature from all the parties, and the transaction will wait until you get a signature from the intended participants, right? So and one important thing is called as checkpoints. So when you write flows, you got to make sure checkpoints is enabled. So what checkpoints will do is like, if I send a transaction to party B, and if party B takes me 10 days of time, how does he comes back to me? So it's 10 days, right? So what it does is checkpoints. What it does is like it will store all your incomplete or pending transaction in disk. So when the transaction comes back after 10 days, it should be able to pick it back. So this is more of like uh, memory or stuff which it can remember. So all these are with Corda. So you need not hesitate, or you need not write code for this. So it's all there. So it's quite simple, and you just got to call the particular flow. So you got to design your business scenarios and invoke the respective flows accordingly. So that is with flows. And and one important other thing is with respect to consensus. So so you have network. So this is a DLT and not blockchain. You don't have proof of work or proof of stake or some other stuffs, stakes algorithms, POET stuffs, etc. and Corda. So what Corda does is it deals with consensus like this. So consensus is basically, I'll just give a brief on consensus. So consensus is basically like when you have two or three more parties writing data on the database or doing some kind of transaction, and all must agree with that transaction. Okay, so you must not say this transaction is not right and that transaction is only right, etc. stuff. So it's consensus is like agreeing wholly to a transaction. Okay, so and also consensus solves the double spending problem, right? So Coda supports two type of consensus. One is unique consensus and validity consensus. So what unique consensus mean is like, you have output state, right? That I think I briefed you on output state. So so what output state does is like, there should be only one input state as its successor. So there will be no nodes having two different input states for the same output state, right? So unique consensus talks about that. So and the way Quota implements unique consensus is with notary service, right? So notary service takes care of all your transaction, and it makes sure that once you consume a state, it is not being given to any other nodes, or it is not been given to any other uh, states at the same point of time. So if I consume it, it will be consumed only by me, and there will be no nodes who's going to consume it parallelly with me. This is called as double spending problem, and that is being achieved via unique consensus via notary service in Corda. So the other stuff is with respect to validity consensus. So validity consensus, you have the state validation that you do with uh, commands and contracts. So you validate your business logic, right? So that is with validity consensus. And notary consensus, when you take about notary service, if you send a transaction, notary service can either see it or it cannot see the data. So this talks about the privacy. You can implement both type of notary services. One is verifiable and non-verifiable. So when I say verifiable, it will go and read all your data and make sure it is not read by other nodes. But notary will read it. So if you don't want even the notary to read it, you can go ahead with non-verifiable notary service. So that is about the consensus. Uh, yeah. So with all this components, right? You have state. You start with state. You write contract. You write commands. You write flows. You decide what consensus you use. You make use of notary service for consensus, and then the final place where you land is like transaction. So this is the last step. So you build all this consensus. You choose consensus, you choose flows, you choose commands, you choose contracts, you choose states, and you all wrap it in a nice way called as transaction, right? So transaction builder is one of the library that is available for you in Corda. So you just tie up all this together, and you're already set to go with transaction, right? So the last step is about oracles. So oracles is nothing but so when you look at DLT or blockchain, everything is deterministic. So when I say deterministic, at any point of time, if I start from 0 block, I should be able to achieve the same output, right? That is called as deterministic model. So how do I bring in stuffs like how do I bring in stuffs like non-deterministic nature? Like assume I need a today's temperature data at this point of time. It's 11:55 now, and I need weather report 11:55. So if I run the same data after 10 minutes, it would not be the same, because your service will pick the current date and time, and it may give you some other stuff, right? So oracles is more of like bringing the non-determinism into deterministic model. So oracles is more of like a service that is with Corda, which you can make use of to bring all the non-deterministic datas. And what it will do is like it will say to other nodes, I take responsibility for this determinism, and I'll take a snapshot, or I'll sign it. So whenever you ask me at this point of time, I'll guarantee you that you get the same data. So this is more of like Oracle services that has been provided with Corda. So the last piece, like uh, the last overall picture. So what you do is like you expose all your flows, all your transactions, flows, consensus as API via RPC call. Okay. So this is the first step. You come up with API, you hit the flows, and flows will take care of uh, your transactions or the comments or the states. So it will go to the counterparty in the sense nodes. Okay. He will sign it. If it is signed transaction, it will go back, come back here, and it will verify with notary. And if it is all good, it will get recorded in the chain. So when you look at the database, uh, by default, Corda uses H2 database. Okay, you can switch to any relational database. So it supports MySQL, SQL, Oracle. Okay, somebody asked me question on whether it supports primary key and foreign key relationship. So you could have all those models in that database, and yeah, and all the data that has been ledger data will be called as vault in Corda terms. Clear? So that is called as vault. And yeah, so that's to scale. Doesn't it have to support NoSQL? I'll answer that at last. So I'll finish this part. Um, so this is the entire flow of Corda. Okay. So now this is pretty much about Corda. So what I'll do is I'll just take a minute to run my Corda service. So I'll show you a demo. So in the meantime, I think it will take some time. My system is a bit lagging, so it will take some time for me to set this up. In the meantime, I'll take questions from you people. Right. So Sri Krishna asked, to scale does not it have to support NoSQL? So if you look at it, Sri Krishna, so it supports H2 database and CouchDB. Both are non NoSQL DB. So you could, if you want to use NoSQL, you can use NoSQL database. So it's not at all a constraint. But if you want to go with relational database as well, you could go with it. Or constraint limited by modeling language or canon, right? So I'll have two VMs. Can I set up? Wait, I'll take one at a time. So our constraints limited by modeling language. Okay, to just give you a brief, Corda supports Java and Kotlin, right? So yeah, as far now, I think you got to go with either Kotlin or Java, or can they be implemented as callbacks? What does Bharat do you mean by callbacks? You have all type of complex constraints being handled here. So it's like you model your data and you write your own validation, right? So Corda doesn't restrict you to only one kind of validation. So you have states, you write your validation with contracts, so you can do whatever validation you want to your business model.
Rangesh, 1
Yeah.
minute. The guy Ashish or Ashok was asking one question before end of the session about sending the large files, transmission and all.
Hear you. Hello.
Yep, is it audible?
Yeah, it's audible now.
Yeah, sorry. Ashok was asking about the transmission files before end of the first session. I mean, the middle, that time it got disconnected. Maybe you can answer that too.
Yeah. Ashok, can you please pose your question here? Sri Krishna said, "You have two VMs. Can I set up?" Sri Krishna, like you need not go. You could go with one VM itself. Uh, so you have. I'll just show you this stuff. Can you see my screen? I mean, can you people see my screen? Uh, just a second.
It's with the PDF only, Rangesh.
Right. So right now, with what is it?
Hello.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
Yeah.
are
Can
in.
you
Rangesh.
see my? Can you see my screen right now? What do you see? Is it the PDF?
No, Rangesh, we are
Click.
seeing the PDF only.
Right. I'll reshare it again.
Okay.
So do you see something called as Corda nodes here, right? Yes or no?
Yep, yep.
Yeah, yeah. So see, Sri Krishna, like to answer this question, uh, you said you want to so you if you have uh, IntelliJ or Java and yeah, so I'll just brief you about the tech stack or environment you need. So all it requires is Java and IntelliJ for you to code. Or if you are good with Eclipse, you could still go with Eclipse. So I use IntelliJ. So if you look at this, I have created two notary service. So this is the end output of my project or output of my code. So I have two notary service. So I have three participants, and this is where if I click this, you'll get different output stuffs here. Um, so so my system is bit stuck. I just started my notes running, so it is bit hanging. Uh, how do you set this up? Provide inputs. Yeah, Sri Krishna, I'll share you my source code. You could download it and you could set it up. I'm a Python Ethereum star. Vinay asked me one question like Corda is only peer to peer or can we make the network for example? See, when you say peer to peer, it means different nodes. So you have different participants. So there'll be four or five participants, and you contact uh, all those four or five participants in a peer-to-peer mode. Okay, so it's like one-on-one talk. It's not like everybody talks to every other, unlike blockchain. I'm a Python dev. I think you can start with it. There's nothing harm in that. And yeah, so Java and IntelliJ and Git is the stuffs necessary for you to have this up and running. Uh, so you are able to see this, right? So you have the notary service here. It's taking time for it to load. So this is basically the structure of my application. So I have two notary service and and I have three participants. So so what I do is this is very much lagging.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, Jignesh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what is the protocol peers are using to communicate each other, and what is the protocol they are using? So from the external, I can communicate with the network.
It's called as AQMP protocol. For peer-to-peer
Sorry,
communication, they use AQMP.
AQNP. Okay,
Uh,
peer-to-peer communication, right?
yes, yes.
And from the external, if I am communicating with the existing, I have a existing application, and I want to communicate with the network and store the data over there. So what is the what are the protocol they are using from the external?
Uh,
RPC.
see, so you want to know how do I expose my Corda application to outside world? Is it?
Yes, yes, yes,
Yes. So you do with APIs, RPC APIs.
yes. That RPC
Yeah, that
API
Bharat
is
is
using the RPC protocol, right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay, got it. Thank
Sorry,
you.
Bharat. Yeah, it's AMQP. I missed it. It's Advanced Message Queuing Protocol.
AMQP.
Yes, Bharat has pinged you in the chat. It's not AQMP. I missed it. It's AMQP.
Okay.
Advanced Messaging Queuing
Thank
Protocol.
you. Thank you, Bharat.
Yeah. So you are able to see my notes, right?
Yes.
It is taking much more time than I expect. So it is yet to start. So there are three nodes, okay, right? So if you look at this, this is one node and this is other node. Why is it using 7 processes? That is because it will, there are two notary service. So you see two processes and there are three nodes and you have the database, H2 database as well. And you have the RPC API exposed for them. So that's the reason you are seeing 7 processes. So if you look at this, this is one separate node. This is one separate node. And where is the other one hiding? I'm not sure. So this is one separate node. So this is more of like you could just take this exe and plug it into some VM. You could run it, just changing this IPMN. It is taking much time. Let me see whether it is able to. Can we also use? Yeah, yes, you can use it. This is completely, you can run this as in Windows as well as in Linux. No, it is not affecting. My system is bad. My system is pretty old. This is just a simple application. It would ideally, I should have ideally showed you demo by this time. My system is bad. Sorry. It is still not connected. Or I can do one thing. I can record this and maybe share it in the meetup group. Would that work for you people? Or you want this to be, because I think it will take
Yeah,
much time.
that will
Better,
be
right?
fine, Rangesh. That will be fine.
Yeah. So because you see this, right, it is able to connect to admin and stuff. So one last step is missing. So it is supposed to connect to the DB. Uh, Something is happening. So I'll better record this. Okay. Bharat asked, yeah, sure, Bharat. We can go into this. There's some handshake problem here. That's nothing but. Yeah, but I'll record to you people and show what demos exactly. Right. So anything apart from that? Any questions apart from this? Please share config steps of Corda. Yeah. So I'll share you the GitHub link where I have posted this. Um I'll just ping it over the chat as well as in the meetup, so you can just download it. Meetup, not on the social group. I don't know what social group is.
Yeah, we have a Google Hangout and WhatsApp group. So probably you can send your number through Meetup. We will add you in the WhatsApp group.
So any questions? Any other questions?
Sure, I'll add it.
Yeah. So, is there any possibility to customize the consensus mechanism what is used by the Corda itself?
In the enterprise edition, you can customize it.
Okay. So, any
But
kind of consensus mechanism I can use, right? Like proof of
yeah,
authority or PPFT like
no,
that.
no, 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 no. Those see proof of authority or proof of stake will come into picture only when all the data is being shared by all participants, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
why do you want Coda to do algorithms like
Okay.
Paxos or RAP, and you could write your own validations on that, own consensus with it. Any other questions, people? Rajakumar, yeah, I have completed Coda certification. Will you share? Sri Sudarshan asked, will you share the link for recording? Yeah, I think Navin will share it with you people. How does one get certificate? Bharat, yeah. So R3 Coda provides certification for this. So it's an exam, like you can take it up any number of times until you pass it. So I think the cost is around $150. You can take it up from R3 Coda itself. Open source document. Chandrayan has asked me any relevant open source documents. So basically, the stuffs are with uh, uh, Coda site itself. R3 Coda documentation is pretty neat. I would also suggest you to take the Udemy course. There's one stuff that's with Udemy on uh, getting started with Coda. You could try that as well. And Sri Krishna has asked, who are the vendors supporting Corda? There are much more of like bank people, HSBC, Inc. And also one good thing is insurance people have also started using Corda. So there is they form a consortium. They have formed a consortium called B3I Insurance. So even they have joined Corda, and even many banks actually, and then also even supply chain management uh, they have also formed Corda. I mean, they are also in tie-up with Corda called GS1 Supplying Standards. So they are also in touch with Corda. So Corda Software Enterprise, who are the vendors? I don't have much knowledge. I'm not from Corda, so I cannot answer on that. What is UTXO state mission model? So Debashis asked me. Uh, so if you look at the UTXO state model, uh, so if you look at uh, if you look at Bitcoin, right? It quite resembles Bitcoins. So it's like UTXO says that unspent transaction output. Okay, so UTXO means unspent transaction output. So when you think with Corda, everything is in terms of states, right? So every input should be should be formed from an unconsumed state, or every input will be consumed from an output state which is of type unconsumed. Unconsumed in the sense that that state has not been read by any other nodes, or it has not been used and it is fresh for you to process. That is called as unspent state or UTXO state. Debashis, is it clear or you want me to explain it more?
Okay. Rangesh,
Yeah.
Thanks. We have another 2 minutes only. Thanks for the session. I request all to provide your feedback on the Google Forms, and also definitely you find the session useful. Uh, I thank Rangesh on behalf of all, and also we plan to have a hackathon by March. So probably we'll send the notification through Hangout or the meetup group. Probably people can join.
Right, then thank you all. So I believe the session was useful to you. So thank you all.
So can I get one question?
Yeah, yeah.
So just just eager. Actually, I am a Ethereum blockchain developer. So
Okay.
I just eager that it's a peer-to-peer based network, right?
Yes.
So my question is that if there are three banks, one, two, three, right? So if
Mm.
A and B have a transaction, right? So the acknowledgement will be there between A and B only, right? So C will not get
Yes.
in Corda,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But in blockchain it happens, right? That's
Yes.
a difference.
Exactly.
Okay. So one more thing, just in Hyperledger, this can be happen.
Yes.
Acknowledgement can be.
Private data collection. Yes.
Okay. So it's a peer-to-peer based, right? Like
Yes.
banking sector used to do that. Like you said,
Yes.
HSBC has achieved this, right?
Yes.
Okay. So as a Python developer, how can I start with that? The setup of the Corda and like.
Probably you can, to get started, you can take Udemy course which is in Corda.